If your startup isn't growing like you hoped, it's probably already on the wrong path and you don't even know it. And this could quietly kill your startup before you even notice. I have coached over 50 startups and built 2 startups myself. In this video, I will show you the 5 biggest mistakes startup founders make, how you can avoid them, and what successful founders do differently. By the end, you will know exactly how to grow your startup with confidence. But first, let me show you how most founders build their startup and why it doesn't work. Okay, here is how it usually goes. Founders have a cool idea, they get excited, and they start building right away. Maybe they raise some money, hire a team, and just keep building and building and building, but there is no real plan, no go-to-market strategy, no idea how to get customers, no idea what to focus on first. So it feels productive, but what they're actually doing is running at full speed in the wrong direction. And here is the scary part: startup mistakes cost more than time. They cost momentum, confidence, and cash, and you don't get unlimited shots. Now, to avoid all that chaos, here are the 5 big mistakes you need to avoid. Let's jump right into mistake number 1. We start with a super common trap. You launch your product and obviously you want everyone to love it. So you add as many features as possible and cover as many use cases as possible. Sounds smart, right? Well, actually, it's a big mistake. Here is the issue: when you try to serve everyone, you end up serving no one. Your product becomes generic and your messaging becomes diluted. So when people visit your landing page, they just get confused because they don't know if it's the right product for them. But why does this happen? Because founders often think that if they narrow their focus, they will lose an opportunity, they will lose customers. But the opposite is true. The best startups win because they speak directly to a very specific group of people with a very specific pain point. So instead of adding feature after feature and trying to appeal to as many people as possible, here is what you need to do instead. Pick a clear niche, truly understand what their pain point is, and build everything for them, starting from your product to the message on your landing page. So when your ideal customer finds you, they should instantly think, this is exactly what I need. Before we move on to the next big mistake, think about who your product is really for. Are you already serving a specific target audience, or is your messaging and product still too broad? If so, try to niche down to make your solution even sharper. Wait, before we dive back in, I have got something for you that can literally save your startup. It's my Startup Survival Guide, and it's completely for free. You will learn the top mistakes that kill most startups and how you can avoid them. Plus, you will get actionable resources, powerful frameworks, and pro tips you can use right now in your startup. 90% of startups fail. Don't be one of them. Check out the first link in the description below and get your Startup Survival Guide right now. Let's get back to the video. The next mistake is tricky because it feels like growth. Quick story time. I once coached a startup that was building an app to help managers get more done during the workday. They were running ads, creating content, and they were getting a lot of signups. So it felt like they were doing everything right. But then they showed me their dashboard and their churn rate. People were signing up, but they were pretty much immediately leaving. So they got a lot of new customers, but they couldn't keep them. That's the classic leaky bucket problem. You keep pouring water in, but it flows right out the bottom. So the big mistake is focusing on getting more and more customers instead of keeping them. It's a classic one, and I can tell you why this happens. Because acquisition is exciting. Getting more users is exciting. I mean, you can see the numbers go up and it just feels great. Wow, we got 300 more users this month. Sounds awesome at first glance, but retention is quiet. Nobody says, wow, out of 100 users, we kept 95 this month. But you should, because that's how you make real money. And that's why the most successful startups do everything to keep their customers. So here is what you need to do right now. First, nail your core experience. Make your product so good that people want to keep using it. Second, know your retention metrics, like how many people you kept within 7 days, 30 days or 60 days. Third, figure out where and why people drop off, and then fix it. For example, if people drop off because they see a long sign-up form, you need to get rid of it or reduce it as much as possible. And fourth, make your happiest users your promoters. Word of mouth is one of the most powerful marketing channels, so reward people for recommending your product. So what are you focusing right now? Getting new users or keeping your users? Remember, customer retention is the best way to grow your startup. Now, let's talk about money, because most founders get this next part dangerously wrong. When it comes to money, most founders make this one big mistake that kills their startup. They work like this. They start with some cash upfront, maybe from family or friends, and they go like, okay, let's start spending. Customers and revenue will come anyway. So they hire new team members, get a fancy office, buy a business car, and spend months building their products. But then reality hits. Revenue takes longer. They can't get customers. The fundraise doesn't close, and now they're out of cash. Bye-bye successful startup. It's a typical mistake many founders make, and I've seen it happen many times. And it really hurts me to see, because you can easily avoid it. Now, I've made an extra video on this, you can check it out here, but here are 3 quick tips how you can avoid it. First, build a 6 to 12 month cash flow forecast. You need to know exactly what costs you will have and how much money you need to stay alive. Second, keep your burn rate low. Don't buy a business car or rent a fancy office. Only spend money on things that are really important for your startup. And third, monitor your expenses weekly, not monthly. At all times, you need to know how much money you will need in the coming month and whether any unexpected costs have come up. So here is something you need to ask yourself. If your revenue stopped tomorrow, how long could you keep going? If it's less than 6 months, you need to act right now. Have you ever seen a founder who doesn't love their idea? I haven't, and to be fair, they should, because passion is important. But it can become a problem when passion turns into blind spots, because you start to believe you know what's best for your product. So you just build what you think is right. I've seen countless founders spend 6 months building features and then launch, only to find out that none of their users ever wanted these features. And here is the issue, they never talked to users. They never tested their idea. They just built it. So here is what you need to do instead. Talk to your users all the time. Before, during, and after you build something. Really make it a habit. And ask them questions like, what is the biggest challenge you face? Or how would this feature help you? These insights will show you exactly what features you should build next. I like talking to people in person because, from my experience, you get the best responses. But if that's not possible, you can still use online surveys or remote interviews. Anything that gives you real insights. And then build your product on real feedback, not assumptions, not ego, and not your gut feeling. That's how you build a product that people love and keep using. Now, we have one more mistake to go. It's the hardest call a founder ever has to make. Now, this one hurts, but it's real. Sometimes your idea is just not working. Users don't care. The market isn't responding. But instead of facing it, many founders keep pushing. And I'm guilty of this myself. The first startup I joined was doomed. We all knew it, but we kept running it for a month instead of shutting it down. And why did we do it? Well, because we are founders. We are emotionally invested. We think, we have come this far. We cannot stop now. But here is what I learned after shutting that startup down. And trust me, it was one of the hardest calls I have ever made. Pivoting or even quitting your startup, if it's not working, is not failure. Failure is knowing something isn't working and choosing to ignore it. Instead, moving on frees you to build something better later on, with all the lessons you have learned. So the best way to avoid this mistake is to measure your traction honestly, not with hope, but with real data. You need to think like a CEO. So your job is to make it work. And if it doesn't, it's time to pivot. And third, accept that pivots are normal. Most successful founders didn't get it right the first time they tried. And here is the most important tip. You only need one idea to work. You can fail 10 times, but when you make it the 11th time, it will all be worth it. Now you know the biggest mistakes startup founders make. But that alone won't save your startup if you don't have a clear plan. So check out this video where I will show you how you can build a clear step-by-step roadmap to grow your startup. And if you're serious about building a successful startup, subscribe to the channel so you will never miss startup frameworks and powerful tips like this. Talk soon, bye bye.